In this video, I want to take a look at a game which I played a couple of days ago against the same opponent of my previous video, and you will see that he can in fact play relatively well. So I had the white pieces, and he played an Owen's defense. I'm not really sure about the theory because most people don't play it, so I never really bothered to learn it, simply because from a practical point of view, if you're gonna memorize the lines and then no one plays it, eventually you're gonna forget. So if you eventually see the opening again, you might not remember all the details, and well, that could be a dangerous thing, to think that maybe you do know it a little bit better than you do and you get your lines mixed up. So I believe knight of 6 is a novelty on the lead chess database, at least in the master games. And here, well, I just continue developing. Here, the only good move for white is to take on d5. And after recaptures, I played bishop b3. I did consider queen e2, but my opponent does have the option of playing queen e7, and then we trade queens, and well, I didn't want to play that endgame. And bishop b4 is actually the best move. And here again, castling is the best move, but I did also consider queen e2. But here it is unlikely that my opponent is going to play bishop e7. So again, going into an endgame, considering the difference in playing strength, not something I wanted to do. And here my opponent made the first serious mistake of the game. d4. I tell all my beginner students to castle as early as possible, just to avoid losing very quickly. And by that I mean between 15 and 20 moves, maybe even less than that. But after d4, well, there's several good moves for white, or I should say at least a few moves that are really good. One move that I did not consider is knight b5, and if you play something like knight c6, you can actually take the pawn because you have this fork at the end. And if black tries to get a little bit fancy and takes, well, yeah, technically black is up a pawn, but white has more than enough compensation for the pawn. If you just look at the evaluation at this depth 14th, once you let it go up to like depth 22, it gives it a lot higher, almost +3. So that's practically winning for white. And if you just continue the line, check. If you play this, I mean, d4, and these two bishops are just monsters, which is similar to what happened in the game. We got some really nice bishops. And here my opponent, instead of going back with the bishop, played king f8, which I thought after I played before I played rook e1, I thought that my opponent was probably going to play king f8 just because of his style. And well, bishop e7 is objectively the best move, but it does psychologically give the concession that, okay, I made a mistake, and retreating well, now the knight is no longer pinned to the rook. This is rather passive, so I just didn't think that he would play it. But even after this, objectively white is better. It's like plus 1.5 or even higher than that. I guess it depends on the engine that you use. And well, this position, it's actually not so clear how to win it, because bishop a4 check, yes, that's a good move. But if you play something like knight b5, which also looks really good, after, say, something like c5, it's actually not so clear how white maintains an advantage. If you play a move like bishop g5, you actually lose quite a bit of your advantage. So you have to play something like queen e2 or bishop f4. And well, here the threat is pretty obvious. c7 check, forking the king and rook. And if you try to stop it with knight a6, you actually just end up losing, because check can't, well, the bishop on e7 is pinned, so you just drop a bishop with your attack. You're attacking the queen, so this is just over. After this, you could make the argument that black might try to just go a5, a4, I mean h5, h4. And here I played the only move, basically, because otherwise I'm just losing material. And here my opponent blundered, which is understandable. It doesn't look like a mistake, and maybe it's not that big a deal. I guess it is the follow-up to this move that's the real mistake. The engine prefers this move. The point is that this pawn is still alive, and well, it basically controls these two squares, which means that the bishop, well, e3 looks like a bad square because there's nothing here and you're blocking the rook. If you go to f4, well, yeah, you're attacking this, but probably the best move is going to g5, pinning the knight, but that's not still that great, because after what happened in the game, my opponent took on b2, which I just don't think it. I think this is a terrible move, because now again, just like in the previous variation I showed, the two bishops are just dominating along these diagonals, and along with the rook cutting off the king here, I mean, it just, checkmating ideas are starting to become a reality for white. And after knight c6, knight g5, there's no way to stop something landing on f7. And here again, just, I guess, getting greedy, just taking the pawn, not realizing that you're in danger. Not that it matters at this point. I mean, the evaluation went up from like +4 to like +6, +7. So takes, queen b8, which I thought was a very strange move. The engines don't like it. They thought queen c8 or queen d7 is actually the best move. So believe it or not, this position was actually reached in a game on League Chess. In that game, the move what played was queen d7, which is the best move. I took the rook. Better is to take on f6 and play queen h5. And here, the reason I did not play this move is because this move rook g8, and then I did not see knight g5. If I had seen knight g5, I would have played this line. But I thought, well, after queen h6 check. There's no mate. I mean, it's mate in 8 apparently, but I wasn't sure how to, during the game there's no one telling you you have checkmate in 8 moves. So I decided just to take the rook. And after this, took me a few seconds to realize what the idea was. My opponent wants to go queen b7, take on g2, play bishop h1, and queen g2 checkmate. Unfortunately, that just takes too much time. That takes 4 moves. So I knew that I was gonna be checkmating him before he checkmated me, and even if I don't have that a checkmate in 4 moves, I could just go f3, stopping that idea. And here I played queen d2, which I really liked. The engines don't like it that much. The point is, I am attacking the knight with check, and that would be checkmate. And I'm also threatening bishop takes f6, and if you take queen h6, it's also checkmate. So I knew that if my opponent fell for the trap, then I would just be winning. So yeah, he played a5, protecting the knight, but unfortunately now I do have bishop takes f6. I mean, I had it in the previous 2 moves, which I missed, but at least I'm still winning. And after queen b7, it's force mate in 3 moves. I did not play that. Bishop takes g7. I think is probably what I should have played, because after it takes check, if you take the knight, that's mate, and if you go here, that's mate. But instead I played bishop f7, which I think, well, at the time I thought it was a very clever move. The point is that I am threatening checkmate. So if black just makes a random move, it's mate in 1, so you can try to figure it out. And here my opponent took, I guess he forgot that it's checkmate on h6, and that's how the game ended. Anyway, I hope that you liked the video and that you learned something, and please give the video a thumbs up and share and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video.